Most people don't fail financially. They drift. They drift through raises that get absorbed into lifestyle. They drift through years of meaning to invest seriously. They drift through decades of almost building something real, always one decision away from actually starting, never quite making the turn. And here's what makes it so quietly devastating. The decisions that determine which side of the wealth gap you spend your life on don't feel like major financial decisions when they happen. They feel like normal life choices. Career moves. Apartment upgrades. Social commitments. Ordinary moments that seem completely unremarkable at the time and turn out to be everything in retrospect. I'm Astrid, and I want you to meet someone before we go any further. Her name is Emily. She's 44 now. But the story starts when she's 29, sitting at her kitchen table on a Tuesday night, looking at her bank account and feeling the specific, quiet dread of someone who earns decent money and has almost nothing to show for it. Emily isn't going to make 3 dramatic financial moves. She isn't going to get lucky in the market or inherit money or stumble into some opportunity that changes everything overnight. She's going to make 3 decisions that look, from the outside, almost unremarkable. And those 3 decisions are going to compound into a completely different life. Fast forward 15 years. Emily at 44 has genuine options. Work is a choice, not a requirement. The financial anxiety that was her constant background companion in her 20s and 30s is gone. Not because her income exploded. Because of 3 specific crossroads she hit, recognized, and navigated differently than most people do. Wealth is built in decisions that don't feel important. This is the story of Emily's 3. And probably yours. Let me tell you what the research actually says about why most people don't build wealth, because it's almost certainly not what you've been told. The standard explanation is income. Not enough coming in, not enough margin to invest, not enough raw material to build with. It's a comfortable explanation because it's simple and because it assigns the problem to external conditions rather than decision patterns. It's also largely wrong. The data on household wealth versus household income is uncomfortable for anyone who wants to believe earning more automatically solves the problem. There are millions of households earning over $100,000 per year with essentially zero net worth. And there are households earning $50,000 that have built meaningful asset bases over time. The variable separating those outcomes is almost never income level. It's decision quality at 3 specific crossroads. Crossroads that appear in almost every person's financial life in a predictable sequence. That rarely announce themselves as financially significant when they arrive. That feel like ordinary life choices while they're happening and reveal their full consequence only years later, when the compounding has done its work in one direction or the other. The biggest financial decisions rarely feel like financial decisions. 3 crossroads. 1 pattern. And most people drift through all 3 without ever realizing a choice was made. Emily didn't. And here's what she did differently. Decision 1. The time decision. Age 29. Emily is sitting at that kitchen table. She's been working for 7 years. She has a reasonable salary, a 401k she contributes to minimally because that's what you do, and the vague sense that she should probably be doing more without any clarity about what more actually means. And she's about to hit the first crossroads. It doesn't announce itself as a major financial moment. It shows up disguised as a career question. Her company offers her a promotion. More responsibility, longer hours, a salary increase that would be meaningful. Standard upward trajectory. The obvious move. But Emily pauses. Not on the promotion itself. On something underneath it. She realizes, sitting at that table, that she has been operating on an assumption she never consciously chose, that her financial future would be built by earning more money from jobs. That the path was linear. Work harder, get promoted, earn more, save what's left, repeat until retirement. And for the first time, she questions whether that assumption is actually a strategy or just a default. This is the time decision. And it's the first crossroads that separates the people who build wealth from the people who spend their lives financially dependent on a paycheck. The time decision isn't about whether to take the promotion. It's about deciding, consciously and deliberately, whether your financial future will be built only through trading time for money, or whether you're going to build income streams that don't require your direct time exchange. Most people never make this decision. They just drift into the default. Work, earn, spend, repeat. The paycheck is reliable and the alternative requires thought and discomfort and a kind of long-term thinking that our immediate culture doesn't exactly celebrate. Emily makes the decision. She takes the promotion and she does something different with it. Instead of letting the raise get absorbed into lifestyle the way the previous ones did, she treats it like a system installation. She sets up automatic investment contributions before the new salary hits her checking account. She decides in advance that her wealth will be built on assets, not just labor. That every raise from this point forward will be split, part to living, part to compounding. It's not glamorous. It doesn't feel transformational in the moment. It feels like a small, slightly uncomfortable administrative decision on a Tuesday night. Wealth is built in decisions that don't feel important. Emily just made one. But here's what most people don't understand about the time decision. Making it once isn't enough. The decision has to be defended. Because the second crossroads is specifically designed to undo it. Decision 2, the risk decision. Age 34. 5 years later. Emily's investment system is running. The accounts are growing. She's developed a basic understanding of how markets work and why long-term diversified investing produces the results it does. And then 2020 happens. Watch what occurs in Emily's professional circle during the market crash. Her colleague Marcus, who was a more aggressive investor than Emily, panics and sells everything in March at the bottom. He tells himself he'll get back in when things stabilize. He misses the recovery entirely. The money that should have doubled over the following 2 years sits in a savings account earning nearly nothing while he waits for certainty that never quite arrives. Her friend Dana, who had always been too nervous to invest at all, looks at the crash and feels vindicated. "See," she says. "This is exactly why I keep my money safe." She doesn't calculate what keeping her money safe has cost her in lost compounding over the previous decade. She doesn't need to. The feeling of having avoided the crash is enough. Emily doesn't sell. Not because she isn't scared. She is. Because she made a decision about risk before the moment arrived, and that advanced decision gave her something to hold on to when the emotional pressure to act was at its peak. This is the risk decision. And it's the crossroads where more wealth gets destroyed than at any other single point. Not because markets are dangerous. Because the emotional experience of risk is so overwhelming in the moment that it consistently overrides everything a person knows intellectually about long-term investing. Here's the mathematical reality that fear-driven investors never fully absorb. Missing the 10 best market days in any given decade, often because you sold during a crash and waited too long to reinvest, can cut your long-term returns roughly in half. Not because you made a series of bad decisions. Because of a handful of panic-driven exits at moments when the emotional case for selling felt completely rational and the intellectual case for staying felt abstract and unconvincing. The risk decision is the moment you decide whether knowledge or emotion will govern your investment behavior. And it cannot be made in real time, under pressure, when markets are falling and every headline is catastrophic and the people around you are making fear-driven moves that feel like prudence. It has to be made in advance. Clearly. Explicitly. With enough conviction that it holds when the moment arrives. Emily holds. The accounts recover. Then they grow beyond the previous peak. Then they grow beyond that. By 38, the system she built at 29 and defended at 34 has produced something she can actually see. The investment income isn't replacing her salary yet. But it's real. It's significant. It's working in the background of her life without requiring her direct time exchange. The time decision is starting to pay its compound dividend. And then Emily hits the third crossroads. The one she didn't see coming. The one that almost cost her everything she'd built. Decision 3. The identity decision. Age 41. Emily gets a new job. Significant salary increase. $180,000. She's worked for this. She's earned it. And the life that income level implies she should be living starts to become visible everywhere she looks. Her new colleagues own homes in a specific kind of neighborhood. They drive a specific kind of car. They take a specific kind of vacation. They send their kids to a specific kind of school. None of it is stated explicitly. All of it is understood. Emily's new professional environment has a spending standard that operates as constant, invisible social pressure. And for the first time since she was 29, she starts to drift. Not dramatically. Gradually. The apartment upgrade that makes sense given the new salary. The car that finally matches her professional level. The social commitments she says yes to because declining starts to feel like announcing that she doesn't belong. The visible signals of success that her income now implies she should be projecting. 6 months in, she does the math. The gap she spent 12 years protecting between income and spending, the gap that her entire wealth-building system depended on, has quietly closed. The new salary is being consumed by the new lifestyle with the same efficiency that every previous raise was consumed before she built the system at 29. And she recognizes the trap. Just barely. Just in time. This is the identity decision. The crossroads that catches the people who were disciplined enough to navigate the first two. Because it doesn't arrive as a financial challenge. It arrives as a social one. As the question of whether you're willing to look financially ordinary or even financially behind your peers in exchange for actually building financial freedom. Most people at this crossroads choose the social performance. Not because they consciously decide they prefer status to freedom. Because the social cost is immediate and real and the financial benefit is deferred and abstract. The brain isn't designed to reliably choose the distant reward over the immediate social comfort. Not without an advanced decision that reframes what's actually at stake. Emily makes the advanced decision. She defines, explicitly and clearly, what the money is for. Not to fund the life her income implies. To build the asset base that will replace the need for income entirely. That definition becomes the reference point she uses when the social pressure activates. When the spending temptation is real and immediate and the colleagues are talking about the new restaurant and the upcoming ski trip. She doesn't become antisocial. She doesn't live like a monk. She makes deliberate choices about where the money goes and why, based on her actual values rather than her income bracket's social expectations. And by 44, the three decisions have compounded into something that most people at her income level don't have. Options. Here's what Emily's story reveals that most financial content never says directly. The three crossroads are not primarily financial decisions. The time decision is an identity decision about who you're going to be with your income. The risk decision is an emotional decision about whether fear or knowledge runs your financial behavior. The identity decision is a social decision about whose expectations you're actually living for. None of them feel like wealth-building decisions when they happen. All of them determine your financial outcome more than any investment vehicle, any market timing, any income level ever could. Most people don't fail financially. They drift. They drift through the time decision by never questioning the default. They drift through the risk decision by letting panic override preparation. They drift through the identity decision by letting social pressure define their spending before they've defined their values. And the drift compounds. Just like intentional decisions compound. Just like Emily's three decisions compounded into options at 44. The gap between Emily at 44 and the version of her that never made those three decisions isn't dramatic on a year-by-year basis. It's a slightly different choice at 29. A slightly different response to fear at 34. A slightly different boundary at 41. Small decisions, unremarkable in the moment, compounding over 15 years into completely different lives. The biggest financial decisions rarely feel like financial decisions. That's not a comforting insight. It's an urgent one. Because it means the decision that matters most for your financial future might be sitting in front of you right now, disguised as something ordinary. Emily's three decisions aren't remarkable. That's the point. She didn't have superior intelligence, an extraordinary income, or some insider access to financial knowledge unavailable to everyone else. She had three moments of recognition. Three crossroads she hit with enough awareness to realize that a choice was being made, and enough intentionality to make it consciously rather than by default. Most people hit those same crossroads. The time decision arrives for almost everyone in their late 20s or early 30s. The risk decision arrives for almost everyone during the first major market disruption they live through as an investor. The identity decision arrives for almost everyone the first time their income places them inside a social environment with expensive, invisible spending norms. The crossroads are not special. The decisions made at them are what separate the outcomes. So here is what I want you to actually do with this. Identify which crossroads you're at right now. Not in the abstract. Specifically. Are you in the time decision, still operating on the default assumption that labor income is the whole strategy? Are you in the risk decision, letting fear govern investment behavior that should be governed by understanding? Are you in the identity decision, spending to maintain a social performance rather than building toward actual freedom? Because the crossroads doesn't wait for you to be ready. It's either happening right now or it's already behind you. And the only thing that determines which side of it you land on is whether you make the decision consciously or drift through it on autopilot. Wealth is built in decisions that don't feel important. The ones that feel important are usually the wrong ones to focus on. The raise, the market timing, the hot investment opportunity. These feel significant. They almost never are. The quiet Tuesday night decision to build a system. The decision to hold during the crash when every instinct says sell. The decision to protect the gap when social pressure says spend. These feel ordinary. They compound into everything. Emily made 3 ordinary decisions over 15 years and built a life most people at her income level never reach. The crossroads are coming for you too. The only question is whether you'll recognize them when they arrive.